Hello everyone, welcome to the first deck list of the channel. Figured I would start with Blackwings as it was one of my first real competitive decks. I've been playing it since I think these cards first came out back in like 2010. Before then I can't really remember when Blackwings came out, but it was a time to be alive, let me tell you. So this is going to be a much more casual deck. This is not a deck that I would recommend you take to a regionals or a YCS tournament. It's just not able to compete with those decks. It dies to a lot of singular negations and hand traps and things, but there are ways to play around them still. But it's a deck that I'm very passionate about, so this I figured would be the best deck to start with. So yeah, let's get into the actual list now. So, like with every great deck list, we are going to start with the main deck monster lineup. So we, of course, start with 3 Simoon, the Poison Winds. Simoon is a Black Whirlwind Searcher, and that makes him a mandatory 3 of. Sure, he gets a little clunky if you open up 2 of him. He is his own banish target, but you can't recur him if you banish him, so it's better to have something else. But because he searches the card that searches the rest of your deck, you need him. He is mandatory. You have to run 3 of him. The next card is Chris the Crack of Dawn. He is your normal summon for the turn if you don't open Simoon. He also has a self-special summon ability once per turn if you control another Blackwing card, which is always nice. So he can help. He is an extender more times than not, but he is also a play starter if you only open him in a Black Whirlwind, because he has the highest attack points and can search everything in the deck, which is always nice. More useful is Bora the Spear, which has the same special summon condition as Chris, where you have to control a Blackwing card, but you can do this as many times as you want. It doesn't matter how many Boras you draw, he will always be live if you control a Blackwing. It doesn't matter what the Blackwing is either. So even if it's like, oh, I open 3 Bora and, God forbid, a Blizzard or a Vayu, the Emblem of Honor, he will still be live and he can still help you make some plays, which is always nice. He's also got piercing damage, which can help you kill your opponent if they've set something with weak defense points. Similarly, Gale the Whirlwind has the same condition, and it is also not once per turn, where control a Blackwing, you can special summon it. His attack manipulation effect comes into play more often than I ever thought it would, because this deck, its highest natural attack points is 3k, which is highest for most decks, but a lot of those cards can buff their own attack points, so if you really need to, he is the guy to go into to get over an opponent's like big beefy monster. So that's always relevant. Plus, he's an extra body that's always live in your hand. So now on to the 2 ofs. We have 2 Oster the South Wind. Oster is a very good card to have in your opening hand if you only have the 1. You don't want to open 2. It's almost better not to have her in hand than 2 in hand, which is why we only run 2, and she is searchable. So this is typically the card you'll search with the Simoon search from Black Whirlwind, because she will recur the card Simoon banished, and she's also got that graveyard effect to set up counters and stuff. But having multiples of her, because she can't be special summoned, is just really cloggy. The same goes for Blizzard the Far North, only it's way worse, because Blizzard the Far North is really not the best tuner ever. Can't be special summoned. On normal summon, special summon a Blackwing from grave. On turn 1, that's really bad. It's really hard to get a tuner in grave turn 1. There have been certain situations where he is my 2nd normal summon of the turn, and then Oster becomes the 3rd normal summon of the turn. There are combos where you can do that and set that up, because there are ways to get 3 normal summons in this deck, which is why I still run 2 of him. And he is a late game recursion card, if anything other than that. So yeah, 2 Blizzard, if I can pick them up. 2 Blizzard, he's always been a 2 of in the deck, I think. 2 Harmat in the Dust. He is also a special summon Blackwing, but he's also only once per turn like Chris. So you really only want to see 1 of him a turn. He's searchable, very easily searchable with his low attack points, and he can modulate his level, which makes your synchro plays more viable depending on what you control. And since you have so many different levels, there's no telling what you'll control. Like, you can make him a level 4 if you control a Blizzard. You can make him a level 6 if you control one of your level 4s. Heck, you could make him level 8 if you control Simoon or anything like that. Level 9 if you control one of your level 7 synchros. He's just a very versatile card that helps enable plays. Orochi, same, once per turn special summon if you control a Blackwing, but when he's used a synchro material, he can change a battle position, which can be nice if you need to get over some battle stuff. Really, he's in here because he's a level 4 tuner, and he is the lowest attack Blackwing, so he is most of the time going to be the thing you search with your normal summons. But other than that, he's really... Again, don't really want to see him in your opening hand. You want him to finish off with your your searching with him or something else. If you see him in your opening hand, that means you don't have to search him, but that means that you're not as likely to search something useful off of your last normal summon of the turn, because those tend to be the 13k attack point monsters. For our one-ofs, we have one Zephyros the Elite. Everyone knows what Zephyros does. He is a self-recurring card, and that works even better in Blackwings than he does in other decks. Steam the Cloak, who is just a solid tuner that can keep giving you bodies and help you link climb if necessary. Most of the time I don't find myself link climbing in this deck too much, and if I do, I almost don't ever use Steam. But if I do get Steam, he just enables it so much better. Gladius is typically a better search off Simoon if you've already got the Oster in hand, because he has that special summon clause, but you have to control exactly one other Blackwing. So this has to be the second monster you summon, otherwise he's not going to be doing anything for you. He's really good working with Gale to make things like Nothung the Starlight, or just acting as link material himself, which is what most Blackwings end up becoming. And for the last one of Vayu, the Emblem of Honor, you can drop this. This isn't really as good as it could be. He's just a fun card to put in grave to just get that extra body on the board, another special summon if you have him in the graveyard, and enable other synchro or link plays, which is why I run him. So that's it for the Blackwings. We do have two other monsters, which are our two different rarity dark armed dragons. They don't have to be different rarity. Mine just are. Because these are the two copies that I've got, because for the longest time I've only ever needed the one, and then I just had to dig up this one after the ban list. Do you need to run two copies of him? Absolutely not. Is it easy to get his summoning condition out? Sorta. It's easier than you would think. You just have to know what you're doing and have some of your own graveyard recursion. So, like, you would need your Vayu or your Steam or Zephyros or something like that to really get him live and going. But he's just a fun, goofy card, and if you really want to, because you have so many level 7 since you have so many level 7 synchros, you could theoretically run rank 7s and make stuff like Big Eye and Draco Sack, Galaxy Tomahawk, but that's never coming off the list. So that is it for the monsters. Our back row lineup. Obviously, 3 Black Whirlwind. Every time you normal summon a Blackwing, you search something with lower attack points. This is too good not to run at 3. Always run this at 3. See, and since it's not like a once per turn, once per duel, and you can control multiples of it and get multiple searches, which is never bad. Sometimes drawing 2 Black Whirlwind and a Chris is better than drawing a Black Whirlwind and a Simoon. It's just this card you want to see more than you see Simoon, but sometimes the Simoon is all you see, and that's just what you have to work with. Allure of Darkness for our draw power. You're running enough multiples of your Blackwings that it doesn't matter what you really banish off of this. This can get rid of a couple of dead cards if you really need it to. So like you draw 2 Simoons, get rid of 1. Draw 2 Oster, God forbid, get rid of 1. Draw 2 more cards. It's always nice just to go through your deck more. But that's all we really have for our draw options. Everything else is just really bad and doesn't work well with the deck. Since you're a combo deck, you run 3 Called by the Grave. You could run more hand traps. There are obviously some cuts in here for more hand traps, but my hand traps are either in other decks or just they're just too cloggy. And because this deck still wants to go first for its combos to really have the gravity you want, this is the one you want to run. If you go second, your side deck is basically hand traps. I'm not going to show you guys a side deck. You can come up with your own side deck. It's really not that hard. Your side deck is hand traps and back row hate. So like Twin Twisters, Delta Crow anti-reverse, which is a Blackwing back row hater, and then the hand traps if you're going second. But you can make room for them later. But otherwise, you just want to not get hand trapped yourself because that sucks. For one of spells, we have 3. We have 1 Reborn because Reborn is one of the best spells in the whole game. Probably mine's a little dinky and beat up. I have other better looking copies, but this is just the copy I've had in the deck. 1 World Legacy Succession. This card just gets you like an extra synchro. Like say you can use a synchro as link, and if you have as a link material, if you have this to get a bigger link monster and then summon it back, which is always nice. And then a Foolish Burial because you have so many cards that activate in Graveyard. This will help you activate your Swiss Army knives. And for the last 2 cards in the deck, we do have 2 trap cards. No, they are not impermanences. They are Blackbird Close trap cards. Is Blackbird Close a good trap card? Sort of. I mean, it hates monster effects. This is definitely a card I end up citing out a lot. But is Blackwinged Dragon worth is tributing a Blackwing worth a monster negate? Sometimes. There are a few combos that are just kind of goofy and gimmicky, which is why this deck probably doesn't do as well. If you really want to cut these, throw in some impermanences, other hand traps, more Blackwings, who knows. There are a couple other Blackwings like Zephyr the Breeze that I would recommend you run, but they're not all that necessary. I run these instead because this is funny. So now on to the extra deck. You run 2 Blackwing Full Armor Masters. Having 2 of him on board is really good because usually your opponent can beat over one but not the other unless they've got a Boral Sword. But if you've got 2 of him on the board, you're going to stop a Boral Sword from happening, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. We have other alternatives to him, and the reason we run 2 of him is because he helps us set up a goofy combo with one of our Link monsters. We do, in fact, run the 1 Black Whirlwind for the Blackbird Close. Do I recommend you run this card? No, don't. Just don't do this. This is an empty slot. This could be a Boral Sword or a Crystal Wing or something. It's not because I can't ever... Crystal Wing is easier to make, but Boral Sword, I think, is obviously the more versatile card. But we have him in here because we have the Blackbird Close. Cut him if you don't have the Blackbird. If you don't want to run the Blackbird Close crap. 1 Beals because he is the second better option to Full Armor Master for the gimmicky combo that you want to do, because of his destruction immunity. There are also a couple of decks that can't really get over this because they can't just say, oh, his effects are negated, especially now that Agripane is gone and people can't just make Hot Red Dragon Archfiend. He's okay. Still inferior to Boral Load Savage and Crystal Wing, but he helps with the combo we're trying to do with the deck better, so we run 1 of him. I'm currently running 2 Raikiris. One of these is an European copy, for those of you that can tell. Otherwise, it doesn't really matter. He is a mass destruction card, so if you have a bunch of Blackwings, you can make him pop a bunch of stuff. It does target, unfortunately. You really should drop 1 of him and put in the other Assault Blackwing level 7, because that's an attack booster that can beat over stuff and has a recursion effect. But I just haven't picked up that copy, so really drop this, turn it into the other Assault Blackwing, and you'll have your Assault Blackwings sorted out. 1 copy of Obsidian Hawkjoe. We only have room for 1, except for 1 cut that I'll show you that right after this that you could make to put in a second one if you want. He recurs level 6 or higher, of which you have a lot of synchros, so you can, get his effect and recur your deck a lot. That's really all you have him in here for, is the recursion effect. Link plays, things like that. His redirecting effect actually helps a lot if you control a Blackwing Full Armor Master, because nothing says you can't target him. It just says he is unaffected. So if you control these two cards, every time someone targets something, every time someone tries to target a Blackwing with an effect, he redirects it to full armor, and he just eats it because he doesn't care what happens to him. And speaking of full armor, this is the card that you can totally cut from the extra deck. I just have him in here for the meme factor. An old school armor master, can't be destroyed by battle, has the wedge counter effect. If you have an Oster in your graveyard, and this is the only thing you can make, dropping your opponent's attack points to 0 until the end phase can help you get over their board. Like if they've got a Boral Sword and you just say, okay, now it's got 0 attack points, you can kill it, and even if it gains those half attack points, it doesn't matter because the Armor Master will kill it. Drop this if you don't think you need it for the extra Hawk Joe for one of your other level 8s. Level 8s are harder to make in this deck, so maybe drop this for like a Dawn Dragster if you really want like a negate or something. But Armor Master for the nostalgia meme factor. And then our last one is No Thung, our last synchro. No Thung gives you an extra normal summon and a little bit of burn, so if you're going in for time and you haven't made him yet, make this and then just pass. Make this main phase 2, pass, get over your opponent's life points, and that'll help you win. It's degenerate, but it'll work if you need it and you're in that pinch. Otherwise, he is a play extender because of the extra normal summon. He also has a bit of attack point manipulation, which is okay. It'll help you get over stuff more. You can half it with Gale and then lower it again, and then it'll almost, whatever the problem is, will most likely be dead. Here's a more controversial pick. We have one Xyz monster, Ice Beast Zero Fine. It's detached to negate all face-up effect monsters, is actually fairly entertaining to pull off because it gains all of just a ton of attack points for all the face-up cards on the field. So say your opponent's got a bunch of floodgates, you make this, negate the floodgates, and then you can... The problem is getting to it if it's like a there can only be one. If it's like a summon limit, this is your second summon, and then you negate the summon limit, and then you try to make some more stuff, which is a little harder if this is the cards you have to make immediately. So this might be like a later game, go into this, and then recur some stuff from the graveyard. But it'll help. You might want to drop this for like one of the other like Link 4 monsters, like a Saryuja or an Appaloosa, but I am strapped for money and cannot afford those cards. So Zero Fine it is. On to our links. We have the only Link 4, Topologic Bomber Dragon. This card combos really well with Beals and Full Armor Master because they aren't destroyed by his nuke effect. So Link-focused decks it's very difficult for Link-focused decks to get over him. Especially if they just can't, either they just can't get to the 3K without Link summoning, or they have to focus their first Link summon into getting over him, and then they take their second turn trying to set up a board, but they put so much resource in trying to get over him. Sometimes he gets outed really quick, really easy, but it's a fun combo to pull off. Plus he's dark, and I figured that because of what the deck does, he's the best dark option, and since Simoon locks you into dark, you can't make like a Zero Fine or Appaloosa or Saryuja if you've used Simoon's effect that turn. So Boral Sword might be a better option, but we have Topologic Bomber Dragon. Nightmare Phoenix and Cerberus for some back row hate, just because this is better than going into a Castel. Castel is Winged Beast and synergizes with the deck a little bit better, but these two, these actually put those cards in the graveyard, and then you can Link climb with them, so they're a lot easier. Of course, they're not dark, so you can't use them on the turn you use Simoon, so just keep that in mind if your opponent's got like a monster or a spell or trap that you can't deal with, and make this first. And then 2 Wheat Witch's Apprentice. Once the Raid Raptor Link comes out, drop this, throw in that, because it'll extend you better, but otherwise this is just your generic Link 2 that you can go into if you've used Simoon's effect. So yeah, that is it for the deck list. I've always loved Blackwings. I love synchros. You'll know that if you've ever been on one of my live streams. Other options that you could run, Zephyr the Breeze. If you want more draw power, you could theoretically run Pot of Desires, but that could end up banishing some of your one-ofs, so that's a little risky. You'll just have to play test the deck, see what you need, see what you want. But there are obviously some things you can drop if you want to, leave it up to customization. This is a bit of a memeier build, which is what I try to focus on, is just doing the dumb, ridiculous stuff. But yeah, that's it for this video. If you guys want, I will make other deck lists for some of the few decks that I've got here. I've got like Kaiju Crusadia and Dark Magician build that I'll update when the new support comes out. So yeah, just like, comment, subscribe, all that goofy stuff that I really need to say at the end of my videos, but I don't. Check out some of my other content. It's fairly topical. I'll try to make more Yu-Gi-Oh videos in the future for you guys, but other than that, that's all I've got for today. Adios.